Hello, everyone. Um, Thank you for joining us. My name is Alessandra Calandria. Let me just switch the slide for you if I could get it working. There we go. My name is Alessandra Calandria, and I'm a director of business development here at Hostfully. Along with my colleagues, we have Marcos Gavasa, who is a business development rep, and Mitch Foster, who is our manager of partnerships and integrations. They're in the background. They're going to help us out today. And then today we are joined by two of Superhog's account executives, Kat Volkova and Tony Amiglio. Hopefully I said your names okay and I didn't butcher them. Um, Welcome, everyone. So we're really excited to discuss our integration with Superhog today, as well as certain ways that property managers and owners can reduce risk, which can open up new revenue opportunities within your short-term rental business. Personally, during my meetings and demos, we've had a lot of interest and questions from our customers and prospects in the property management space asking how they can use our software to increase direct bookings and communications with their guest, as well as include guest screening and insurance to reduce risk associated with a short-term rental business. So we're really excited to share and present some of the learnings that we've gotten from Superhog in our partnership. Some topics that will be discussed today are assessing your risk, building trust to build revenue, building your guest funnel, and the Know Your Guest feature that Superhog offers. Before we jump into our discussion, I just want to let you know a little bit more about Hostfully for those who are not familiar. We are a vacation rental property management software that helps you run your business tip to tail. Essentially, we strive to help vacation rental companies and property managers increase revenue and automate day-to-day operations while also improving the overall guest experience. Hostfully does have two platforms, and these are both completely standalone products. The property management platform and the digital guidebook platform. Those are the two products that we have. They're both fully integrated, so you can use both of them together, which gives a nice touch when it comes to personalization. Or you can have the option to basically use the property management software or the digital guidebook separately. On the property management platform side, we have direct integrations with major OTAs, such as Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com, and of course, we have a few others. We are the preferred and premier partner with the three I just mentioned. We do work as a channel manager for those OTAs, so Hostfully will be your central software and hub in managing all your reservations. We have a great pipeline feature, which is really cool and unique to the industry as well. Here is basically where you can see all your guests and exactly where they are in the process of their booking. And basically manage your operations in a different way than the other softwares. We have a really nice out-of-the-box direct booking site available to all of our users, and especially in this day and age, we want as many direct bookings as possible and not to be so heavily reliant on those other channels. Also included in our software are automated messages, both email and SMS, reports, analytics, payment processors, our unified inbox, our newly updated calendar, and a whole lot more to help you run your vacation rental business. And then we also have our standalone digital guidebook platform. This is a very unique and beautiful platform where we focus on enhancing the guest experience. We make it easy to share important information to your guests about their trip, check-in details, directions, house manuals, and all your favorite recommendations can be included in the guidebooks. And again, this aims in boosting the guest experience. So it cuts down on communications, and it also has the ability to get you more 5-star reviews. We also have a great upselling feature to increase your overall revenue. And we also have a partnership with Viator, which is pretty neat. We also have been winning awards for our property management platform, which we are super excited about. We won Matt Landau's VRMB Keystone Award, the first year that they had it for the best vacation rental software. And then we won again the year after that as the best property management software to grow with, making us back-to-back winners. And we just recently won the Shorty's 2022 award as the best property management software. And as you can see on your screen, one of the main evaluators, Terry White, said that Hostfully is one of the best softwares I have ever seen. And the same thing goes for our digital guidebook side. Erica is a client of ours and has had the same view as many of our other clients. Here, she stated that the guidebook totally blew her away. We saved her a ton of time, and also that the guidebook is more professional than a Word document or PDF. We also have free trials for all subscriptions and one free guidebook for those who would like to give it a try. So I suggest going and giving our guidebooks a try. They're definitely worth it. Not only do we have an incredible platform and beautiful digital guidebooks, but we also have great learning opportunities and resources with our reports and our webinars. We have a variety of reports available on our websites. If you go to hostfully.com on the resources tab, you will find our selection of reports. You will find future booking reports, multi-channel distribution reports, and other reports that have great insight that can be useful for your business, which I encourage you all to go check out at your leisure directly on our website. We also have a ton of other things to offer you there. We have blog posts, we have articles, lots of tools for learning on our website. So if you are interested in any additional information on our products, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I'll be happy to coordinate and schedule a one-on-one demo with you or answer any questions you might have. But that's enough about Hostfully. We could go on all day, right? I'm going to go ahead and hand this off to Kat and Tony at Superhog. We are really excited to share some of the learnings that we've gotten from Superhog in our partnership during today's webinar. So now I will introduce you to Kat and Tony.
Thanks, Alessandra. It's really nice to meet you. And thanks for joining, everyone. Tony, do you want to take it away?
Yep, I will. So thank you very much again. My name is Tony Miglio. I am based in Austin, Texas, beautiful Austin, Texas, originally from Hawaii. I've had many years in the short-term rental industry and very excited to be here. So thank you very much. A couple things Kat and I will go over about Superhog. A couple things, again, with Superhog is that, especially for hosts, there's two things that normally come up, right, in the business is how much can you make in this industry? And then the second part of it is what happens if something goes wrong. So that's when Superhog kind of comes in. But I'm going to have Kat talk about this first slide, probably in a couple down. But, she's going to talk about our suite of services, anywhere from the IGS, the intelligent guest screening, to damage waiver, damage deposit, and damage protection. Those are our main suites of services, with the main one being our intelligent guest screening. So a couple down, she will definitely elaborate on that a little bit more. So we can go on to the next. All right, so as I said before, there are two areas that hosts normally, when they enter this business is how much money can I make and what happens if something goes wrong. So here at Superhog, we firmly believe that if something does go wrong, we want to make sure that you guys have a waiver risk mitigation strategy in place. And what type of risks are there for you to manage? Obviously, if there's any types of fraud or chargebacks, any type of accidental or deliberate damage to the property, whether that be from a party, unauthorized parties, and then also from any type of criminal activity, whether it be drugs or sex trafficking or gangs or anything like that. So that's where we come in. We want to make sure that you have a risk management strategy in place. And in regards to assessing your risk, so what you want to do is that nobody really understands who your guests are better than you are. And the way to understand it is obviously you want to find out who your guests are, right? So who is your guest avatar, whether that be somebody that's traveling for business, traveling nurses, if it's corporate or families. So just by assessing your risk, it allows you to figure out, how to better strategize your property and make sure that, you maximize on your property for that. So what you want is actually a repetitive guest is actually a safer guest. So once you have that that guest avatar built out. You know exactly how it's going to happen moving forward. A couple of areas that we focus on as far as the risk part is financial protection, and Kat can elaborate on that a little bit more. Also, we go from anywhere from 0 all the way up to $5 million in damages. We are the very first to have something like that has the largest coverage on there. So assessing your risk, again, you want to obviously invest in something like noise strategy, a noise monitoring system. You want to put what type of home you have, whether it be, type of a bachelor party or bachelorette party, if it's event driven, if you're near a city, or if you're in a secluded place. So this is how you kind of assess your risks and figure out, your risk management strategies. Okay. And then what we want to do here is building trust and revenue, build trust to build revenue. And this also falls in line with the guidebooks that Hostfully has. Again, it's all about that 5-star experience, right? You want to find out who your guest is and why they're coming. And this will help you in the following ways, sometimes unexpected ways. So you should always have, the guest phone number, the text. You want to introduce yourself, make it very personal to them so that they feel like they are getting that 5-star revenue. And once you build that trust, obviously that revenue starts to come in. And then through that also, you can cover yourself through damage waiver. And again, the use of the guidebooks is a great avenue as far as building trust with your guests. So I think Kat will be taking it from here.
Sounds good. So one of the awesome things with Superhog is that we actually, as part of the screening process, we do collect the guest data and contact information as well. This is obviously fantastic for direct reach outs. And as Tony mentioned, building a repeat guest base is so important in minimizing your risks and also having that kind of more consistent revenue stream coming in through your STR. So when we do the screening, and we'll go through all the step-by-step process in a couple of slides, but we do, like I said, collect the email address, telephone number, and actually the address of the guest as well, which means that you, at the end of each stay, have this information that you can keep from the guest that you wouldn't otherwise obtain from an OTA like Airbnb or VRBO. So if you do want to send out a personalized message, whether it be an email, a postcard, a text, thanking the guest for staying, thanking them for leaving the place in such great condition, maybe offering them a small discount to come back next year, or starting a referral program for their friends or family, you'll be able to do that, which is fantastic. That way, again, like Tony said, you're really kind of diving deeper into who your guests are, where are they coming from. You'll also have access to the guest's date of birth, so you can see whether you can sort of, hone in on who you're attracting to your property, so you can maximize it and increase revenue by really customizing it to your ideal guest. How Know Your Guest can help. So the awesome thing that I've heard from multiple hosts about our product is that we're an independent company. So, sometimes hosts might feel a little bit uncomfortable about asking a guest to upload or send them a driver's license or a selfie to verify that, the same guest is coming that is booking. But having an independent company go ahead and do the verification and screening feels a little more professional, a little more organized, and also more trusting for the guest to go ahead and complete this. The wonderful thing with one of our damage protection programs is that we do offer damage waivers, and we actually, unlike a lot of other companies, will share the revenue that's earned from our damage waivers with our hosts and property managers. So we only take a small commission, but if you are interested in collecting damage waivers rather than doing the more traditional deposit option, or if you don't have anything in place yet, then that's a great way of making sure that all damages, as little as, as small as a ruined towel or a broken plate, are covered by this sort of small but consistent stream of revenue on the side from the waivers. And ensures your financial risk is mitigated. So we have a fantastic resolutions team. If we are going to be collecting damage deposits, and if we are going to be covering you for those larger claims, then we have a fantastic trained team who are experienced in customer service and insurance claims, so they can handle any kind of communications with your guests to make sure that the experience for them is as pleasant as can be if damage is caused in the home. So as Tony mentioned, Know Your Guest is really broken down into how I like to think 3 products. The first is the intelligent guest screening and ID capture. This is where we screen and verify your guests, so you know that they're a reliable guest, that who's coming and who's staying, and that you don't have to go on a Google frenzy to find out who they are and do they have good reviews and are they going to take care of your space. The sex offender screening tool is actually also part of our screening process now. It is a legal requirement in Arizona, and it seems to me that a few other states will actually be implementing this as well in 2023. So something that we can dive into. The second product is the collection of damage deposits and damage waivers, which really covers the kind of smaller claims, anything from $0 to $500 of damages. And then we have the advanced protection, which covers up to $5 million in property damage and up to $150,000 in content damage. So we have, kind of cover for all, kind of avenues that might come your way.
Yeah.
Tony, did you want to dive into kind of the ins and outs of every bullet point there?
So what I just want to kind of point out that the industry first for Superhog Know Your Guest is a sex offenders screening tool. It's actually very first for the industry as far as automation goes. And again, with Arizona leading it, I'm sure that other states will be going forward with that. And then also $5 million in damage protection is also one of the largest, is the largest in the industry also for any type of coverage. So I think there's others that go anywhere from 1 million to 3 million, but we offer it up to $5 million. So these are industry first and industry exclusives also. So, okay.
Thanks, Tony. So I see it, actually, if you don't mind, Alessandra, going back to the previous slide. Oh, no. Yeah, we can go to the next one, because I saw we have a couple of questions from Stephen and Sherry, which are actually applicable to this kind of step here that you can see on the left-hand side. So a couple of, basically the process of how we go through the Know Your Guest screening is if you have an OTA listing, or if you have your own direct website and you have a guest that is looking to book your space, they would book the listing, and as soon as they get a confirmation through Hostfully, we would be able to send a request that would go out straight to the guest, asking them to complete the screening verification process. So once the journey is that the guest books the space, then they get a request to complete the screening. And then once the screening is complete, they're all set to go and ready to look forward to their stay. So in terms of, I'm just reading the question, sorry. So yeah, we can integrate with Hostfully. or we can have, guests send out a one-click link to their guests to go ahead and verify. The sex offender screening tool, so as Tony mentioned, this is a new feature that we have, and it's actually already built into the original screening that we have for guests. So guests aren't, warned or notified, and there are no red flags for them when completing the screening. The sex offender check is done seamlessly through our sort of basic screening, where we ask the guest for their first name, last name, date of birth, their address, and their email address and telephone number. So when we do the screening, and if you've signed up for our sex offender check, it will be done 2-in-1. And then if on the off chance that the results come back with a report, then we would notify the host and make sure that they're made aware of this. We do obviously want to make sure that the report is accurate, so we will have human eyes looking over all the information to make sure that that the results are accurate before we flag anything with our host or property managers.
Right. So this is just an automated tool that's inclusive in there. It actually does check against the only National Sex Offender Registry. So it's very quick and very easy, as Kat says. Once you start putting in your information there and you do subscribe to the service, it automatically does do the check. And again, it does not raise any red flags on the guest side. It will raise flags on the host side. So that way, your guests don't get discouraged as far as trying to fill it out or anything like that. Or if they do come up as a sex offender, again, Kat says we do have human eyes just to make sure that, everything is not done by a computer, that we make sure that is the person. It does match the name, it does match the birth date, and it does match the actual addresses and all that stuff. So that's the last thing we want to do, is kind of, leave that uncomfortable situation to the guests and have them, have to tell the other guests that, that there is something wrong. And then also, we have the ability, because there's some cities in Arizona where not just the host, or actually the guest checking in, has to do the sex offender, but everybody checking into the property. So it allows you to flex all the way from one all the way up to how many guests are checking into the property. Okay.
There are some questions in there. Sherry asked a question. I don't know if you guys want to discuss it. That one is a good question. You guys keep your questions coming in. This is good.
Yeah, we love it.
Thanks for all the questions.
Yeah.
And
you want to take that, Kat? Yeah, the damage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks so much for the question, Sherry. So yeah, the great thing with the Know Your Guest report is that if it comes back, by the way, I should mention that the percentage of guests that have a not approved status after completing the screening is very, very low. So most of your guests are hoping to book the space for great intents and purposes. They want to enjoy it and have a great time. There is about a 2% guest who screens will be not approved. And if that's the case, then you will be able to download the report that you will have access to on superhog.com if you have an account with us, and you will be able to forward that onto your OTA and say, hey, look, I'm using Superhog for my screening. This guest came up with, red flags for this and this reason. Therefore, I would like to cancel this booking without any penalty. Though we've had hosts who've done that before successfully. And like I said, we can provide you with the report so you can forward that on to your OTA, whether it be Airbnb or VRBO. The other great thing to note, and this is something I learned fairly recently just by listening to podcasts and following STR sort of speakers, is that actually if you have your STR on instant book, it is much easier for you to cancel a booking without repercussions from Airbnb because there is less sort of opportunity for you to screen the guest and get a feel for them. So there, I know you can, request that there is a photo of the guest and they have reviews and things like that. But having your booking on instant or listing on Instant Book actually offers you a little bit more flexibility with cancellations, which is great to know.
Yep. So another question we have is I think there's like 3 of them. So how does Superhog damage waiver work? Right. So very good question. What we normally used to, or as a PM, you're normally used to just taking a deposit, right, for your properties, whether that be like a $500 hold on the credit card for up to 10 to 14 days. What we do is we go that extra step, and we give the person checking in, the guest, the opportunity to choose between either a deposit at $500 or the damage waiver. Damage waiver, if we put it in front of a guest, 80% of them will choose the damage waiver. And just elaborating on that a little bit more, on the damage waiver, we cover anything, or the damage waiver is for anything from up to $500 in damage, and it's normally like a set and forget, as we like to say in the industry, where they pay an amount. So let's just use an amount of up to $500 damage, and normally that's about $35 in charges. So I would pay $35. $30 of that, majority of that, would come back to the PM or to the host, and then $5 would come back to Superhog as a handling fee. So do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, Kat? Anything I missed?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you explained it great. It's just a one-off fee that the guest they have the option of either selecting the damage deposit or a damage waiver. And if they choose the damage waiver, they will pay a small non-refundable fee of $35 that will essentially cover them for up to $500 worth of damage. So what you're doing is you're every time you take a new booking, and if that guest chooses the damage waiver option, you're accumulating this pot of cash on the side that you can then dip into anytime damage is made or you need to replace or clean something. So we will take payment from the guest for the damage waiver, and then at the end of the following month, we'll pay you out on all the earnings that you've made minus the 10% that we take as commission. So, if you've collected $30 for 10 damage waiver fees, you have an extra $300 on the side that you can use for any small claims or damages. It's a great option if you are traveling with young kids, or you're, booking a house for a group of friends, putting everything on your credit card, but you can't be responsible for other people's actions. So you don't want to spend your entire trip worrying if someone is going to spill, coffee on the rug or, knock over a lamp. So this is a really great tool. It also works wonderfully if you do have a handful of listings and up, because if you price it right, you can find that you're actually making a little bit on the side as a profit. So you can, use it for upgrades or pocket it or do whatever that you want.
Right. It's that added revenue stream that we had talked about. So what we encourage the guests or the host to do is actually take an average, a look at, your bookings and see, how many of those bookings there's actually damage to that. As we know, 95%, 97% of the guests are good guests. They don't want to cause any damage. So, most of the times it works out. And if there is damage, it's less than $200 in damage. So, this is a great tool, especially for those of you with numerous properties and numerous bookings per month. Kind of do the math, and it gives you the opportunity to, again, make that extra revenue, that pot of cash at the end of the month drops right into your account. And again, we can flex that. So we can go $500, $35. We can flex it all the way up to $750 at $55. However you want to structure that, our team can definitely help you out with that. Okay.
We have a few other questions as well. Happy to go through those now. So, Sherry, what about luxury homes? If you have high-end furniture, or you just have a beautiful big chalet, our damage waiver limits and deposit limits are actually flexible, and customizable per property. So, if you want to say, if you have a studio versus a chalet up in the mountains, and they obviously are valued at differently, you're welcome to have a smaller damage deposit or waiver option for the studio, and then you can actually have a much higher one for the chalet if you want. It really depends, and it really is up to you. You can set your limits to what you're comfortable with and what makes sense for you. We would recommend that you obviously do a little bit of research and see what your damages have accumulated to over the last 3 months for that particular property, and then you can kind of work out what makes sense to charge guests for the damage waiver, so you can make sure that you're covering your costs overall. There's also a message from Vallejo about Mexico. So our sex offender checks are from the US register. So we'll be checking US guests.
It's only US, right?
Mm-hmm. Stephen, if there is over $500 worth of damage, so again, if you wanted to set a higher limit for your deposit or your waiver, you're welcome to do that. We can set it to $750, $1,000, $1,500. I had someone set it to $2,500 this week. It really is whatever makes sense for you. However, if you are worried about larger damages, then that's where that advanced protection would come in. So advanced protection is an add-on product if you would like to have it on top of our screening, but it will cover property damage for up to $5 million and content damage for up to $150,000. And the great thing is if you do have our advanced protection, you would be coming to us as your primary for any claims. So you don't have to go through your insurance company. You don't have to worry about your premiums going up. You just come over to us and we'll get it sorted for you. We'll obviously reach out to the guest and try and mitigate with them first. And if that becomes insolvent, then we are backed by an insurance company. So we can, we have your back for it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a question about using Superhog for direct bookings only. So we can absolutely do that. For the time being, we wouldn't be able to integrate with Hostfully for certain channels only. So if you only wanted to do direct bookings for now, we would actually just send you a one-click link that you can add to one of your guest comms, an auto communication that you have, or if you want to send it manually, also completely up to you. But that is something that we're working on for 2023. So we would like to be able to have full integration with Hostfully, where the host can choose which channels are going to be requesting guests to screen and which won't be.
It's kind of the same process that we use with Airbnb and VRBO for those bookings. So we just send a one-click link on that. Same thing for your direct bookings. But again, what's nice about that is if you're building your direct booking business, it's an opportunity for you to start collecting those emails and collect that text messages for your marketing, for your remarketing purposes, right? That we had talked about. So. And did we answer all the questions you see here on the
There's
poll?
one from Rodney, just reconfirming if the damage waiver acts like an insurance waiver. So it's basically giving the guest, it's giving the host kind of control of collecting payments on the side, a small payment from each guest, and then managing the claims and damages themselves. So usually with a deposit option, we collect the deposit for you and something happens, you have to make a claim with us, send us receipts, send us proof that damage was caused by that particular guest, and then we, mitigate it for you and pay you out on whereas with the damage waiver, you're going to be receiving things from that waiver minus the 10% that we take, but everything else goes to you, and then you accumulate that cash and do with it what you will. So whether it's fixing anything that's broken or replacing something, or just upgrading sheets, towels, things like that, that will again just build a better guest experience overall.
Carly has a question here. If we manage multiple properties for different owners, can Superhog service be used only for certain properties, but not all? Yeah, absolutely. We can customize that as far as you tell us what properties you want us to turn on and what not to turn on. And then on top of that, what we also can do is if you have a list of like smaller properties in that 2-bedroom range, 2-2 range, and then if you have luxury properties that you want the advanced protection, we definitely can customize that. The only thing that we need to do then is just have 2 separate accounts for that, 2 separate email accounts, login email accounts for that, so you can manage it that way. But again, that's one of the initiatives for 2023 as far as managing that. But yes, we can select and choose, or you can select and choose what properties you want to use with Superhog. So.
And the great thing is we're super flexible. So, a lot of the time a host will want to give us a go, see how they like the product and the service. And, a lot of the times, maybe in a couple of weeks or a month later, they'll go ahead and upload more of their properties with Superhog to be screened. So you're welcome to, trial us out, list one, see how it goes. And then if you like how everything kind of is running, wonderful. We'd love to have your business.
Okay. Did you want to move on to the next slide? I think, or are we all wrapped up for the questions? Or yeah.
So we are really happy to say that Hostfully customers who sign up for Know Your Guest as a new customer will receive 50% off the intelligent guest screening for life. So this means that if you want to just sign up even for the basic screening to make sure that that the people who are booking your space are who they say they are and they're using real information, then you can sign up and you'll be paying just $2 per month per listing to screen your guests.
Yeah, I have a couple of customers on the Hostfully side that took advantage of this and absolutely love it. It's like $2 a month, again, per property, and it allows them the opportunity to screen their guests, making sure that they're keeping in the good guests and keeping out the bad guests. So it's a great tool.
And just to reiterate, it's $2 per month per listing, irrelevant of how many guests you're going to be screening. If you're having a fantastically busy month, you'll still only be charged $2, which is great. So if anyone has any more questions, we would love to answer them, or if I've missed something from that list, please feel free to ask away.
I'm going to ask some questions sure. Just for my own knowledge, because I am actually an owner myself. I have one property. It is on the island of Aruba, so it's always interesting to learn some new things. Yes. So I know that. Can you guys describe kind of what the flow is? Like once a reservation happens, like for those who are on the webinar, what happens at that point? I know we have that link. Are you guys sending the link out? Is that how that works?
Tony, do you want to take it away?
Yeah. So that's a two-party question, right? So if it goes to an OTA, yes, we do send out the link to you, to Alessandra, to the property manager, and the property manager from there would send it out to your guests. And then if we are integrated, or we are integrated with Hostfully and it goes through the Hostfully platform, then yes, it does automatically send out, and there are reminders that go out from that. I think it's 10 3, and then day of reminders to the guest if they don't fill out start the process of going through the screening. But yes, we do send it out to you, that hyperlink, and then you send it out to your guests either via email or cell phone or text.
Okay, awesome. So, and then inside of Hostfully, we could do the automated messaging with the link and send it out that way, either through, an email or an SMS, and we could trigger them out. So we could always trigger them out. Like we do have triggers, booking confirm and paid. Would we send it out at that point? Would that be the best time to be sending out this link? Or when a booking is confirmed?
Yeah.
When the booking is confirmed.
Yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit. So what we like to do is actually come up with the language before. So congratulations, Tony, you have your booking. In order to complete your booking, there is one more step as far as whether that be guest verification or damage waiver or deposit. And then once they fill out that process, then you are entitled to the code to the door or something like that. But yeah, we do have a step-by-step process and a team that helps you come up with some of the language for that. Right, Kat?
Yeah, exactly. We have an awesome onboarding team who will help our hosts, prepare and make sure that they have everything in place to have a very smooth and successful process with Know Your Guest. So once you've, signed up with Know Your Guest, then we will set you up with a 30-minute, video call with our onboarding team, and they actually already have prepped wording to add to your listing, wording to add to your confirmations, and chasers as well that you can put into Hostfully and have them as automated reminders, like you said, Alessandra. So everything's kind of, well written and is direct, but also, fluffy enough to not scare anyone away.
Right.
Glennis, you asked a really great question about responsibility if a guest is doing a waiver. I think the main thing here is to note that we're really screening for guests to make sure that they're going to be a good guest and they're going to be accountable. So, having the guest fill in their personal information like their email address, telephone number, date of birth, and address for the screening before they are able to select a waiver or deposit already puts them in a mindset that they're being held accountable for their booking. And I think that's a great step already to kind of making sure that they're going to be respectful of your property. We find that, yes, as Tony mentioned, 80% of our guests, when given the choice, will choose the damage waiver. But the reason is not because then they feel like, oh, we can trash this house and be reckless with it and we're already covered. It will usually be for, I really don't want anything to happen, but sometimes things do happen. And if that's the case, I want to make sure that I'm covered. So it doesn't make them more, kind of careless. It just means that they're going to have a better experience because they're not going to be walking on eggshells or tiptoeing, because they also don't want to, cause damage. They don't want to be a nuisance, and they want to get a good review from you as well. So they're going to be taking care of it. It's just kind of those small accidentals that they don't have to worry about. I'll give you an example. I went to New Year's myself with 11 of my friends. I went to Scottsdale for New Year's, and we booked a beautiful house. We actually were given and actually it wasn't an optional, it was a mandatory waiver that I had to pay of $70 between 12 people was, pennies. And that covered us up for $5,000 worth of damage. We all took great care of the place. We didn't break anything. We didn't ruin anything. We were mindful and careful. The only thing that happened was there was a hanging mirror in the bathroom when we closed the door too firmly. It fell off. It didn't break, but the backing just needed to be replaced. So I tell the host, I tell him what happened, and that's it. I don't have to worry about repercussions. He doesn't have to, he's already collected $70 from me. It's going to cost him $5 to fix. And it's just, a much better experience. I left the place not worrying about using me for payment and going back and forth to try and, settle on a reasonable amount. So that's kind of how it works.
Yeah. And as a host, you don't want to be chasing guests for small things like that, for like, ripped sheets or stained carpet or something like that. Because
Right.
again, it's going to give them a bad taste in the mouth. Like, hey, this host is chasing me for this. So, I'm not going to give them the 5-star review or something like that. At least they know they're covered. And then also, again, if there's anything above and beyond that, we keep on file the credit card also to reconcile. That's another step that we do too. We actually gather the credit card information via a 3D secure website. So we have all our bases covered on that and make sure that the customer does know, what exactly is going on, also through a guest agreement. So, okay.
Bree, you asked what happens if you're using the damage waiver option and the damage is malicious or theft. So the damage waiver is a pot of revenue that you're building on the side that you can use for whatever you want, whether it's to cover damage or to upgrade or to pocket at the end of the month as additional revenue. It's completely up to you. If there is malicious or intentional damage, then you can still go ahead and pick funds from your side revenue from the damage waiver fees that you collect and cover those damages. If you have extensive damage in the home and you have our advanced protection, which is the larger damage coverage, then that's where we would come into play, because our advanced protection actually covers malicious damage or theft as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Have you found much resistance in doing STR business in New Orleans? No, we have not. Have you, Kat? I've never, all across the United States, all across the world, where we have no resistance. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just signed a client last week in Louisiana, and there was no issues. She has 4 beautiful homes, so no issues. Is there a regulation or a law that I'm unaware of? Maybe, but no issues.
We have about 10 more minutes, so if there are any more questions, everyone feel free to throw in some more questions in the chat. I do have a fun question for you guys. I don't know if it's really that fun, but what is the worst guest damage you guys have seen so far?
I do have an example. I used to work for a vacation company called One Fine Stay. It was a wonderful company, and I had such a great time there, but they dealt in luxury vacation rentals. It was real people's homes renting out for short-term rentals. And so this is not a Superhog story, but it is a very funny one. So in a beautiful townhouse, I would say equivalent to sort of the Upper East Side neighborhood of London, there was a host who was an interior designer. She had, everything in her house was just gorgeous, like, $10,000 bathtub. It was and ridiculous. She had this beautiful room with hand painted wallpaper, and it was women in the early 1900s with umbrellas and puff skirts and things like that. We had a guest who so each roll of wallpaper is, I don't know, like $1,000. But we had a guest who came with their twin 11-year-old kids, who decided that the women painted on the wallpaper were a little boring looking. So they went ahead and took a pen to the wall and started drawing faces on each woman. And, some of them were happy, some of them were sad, some of them were angry. So, that was some relationship rebuilding that we had to do with that particular host. But, things like that is, it's part of the business. It's part of the nature of the business. Yeah. We're here to hopefully try and reduce any of those,
mitigate those risks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I once heard someone bring in sand into a home because it was rainy outside and they couldn't play outside, and it was like a beach area, so they brought sand inside the home. So
Oh
I've
my
heard
God.
that story before. It's not a personal story, but I've heard it from someone else. And me personally, I've actually had someone go to open the sliding door of the shower, and the whole thing collapsed and shattered everywhere. So that was my horror story. Thank goodness no one was hurt or injured. But it was just, it's, things can happen that you have no control over, and this is why you need things like this. So
Absolutely.
thank goodness for Superhog being out there. I think there are a couple more questions for you
There
guys.
are 3 more questions, that
Mhm.
came up. So how hard is it for a guest to upload their ID? I have an older populations that can't even figure out DocuSign. Is it easier? So it's very simple. If you have a front-facing camera or even on your cell phone, all we do is have you take a selfie of you holding your government-issued ID or passport, press click, and then you take a selfie and press click. So most people are pretty savvy about that stuff now, but I do understand that it can get a little bit difficult with that. But as long as you can hold an ID in front of a camera and take a selfie, you should be fine. So that's pretty easy to go for. Any different steps for the U.S. outside of the U.S.? We're located in Costa Rica. No, we're international, right, Kat? Is that, yeah?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Glennis. Glennis has great questions. I do have a guest who gets angry about having to do verification, as they're not comfortable with their details online, or because they believe they are already verified with Airbnb or VRBO. Can you elaborate, or can you explain? So, you want to take that, Kat? No.
Yeah, sure thing. So great question. I think the main thing with Superhog is the transparency that we'd like to have with our guests. So that's why we add the wording, or we highly recommend that you add wording to your listing, whether it's in the house rules section, whether it's in your home description, to to kind of make the guest aware that this is part of the deal when booking your property. As long as you're upfront and transparent, I think that kind of builds expectations and trust with your guests, so they know it's coming. It shouldn't be a surprise. It's it's a condition similar to please remove your shoes when you enter the house, or please no smoking inside. You're saying our property is important to us. We want to make sure that other people will be able to enjoy it for time to come. So, please be aware that you'll be requested to complete a verification.
And our verifications are not as, they're much more at a deeper level versus Airbnb or VRBO. Airbnb and VRBO, I think all they do is check name and then birthday, and just make sure that. Ours does everything from name, birthday, address, and then we also verify the email address is working, that it wasn't made up from the past 2 weeks. We cross-check that against all other types of social media sources. And then also in regards to the cell phone, we make sure it's tied to a major carrier, whether that be like a Verizon or a T-Mobile. It's not a burner phone. So we do take the extra step as far as verifying the guest, so that that you're getting, again, a good guest and not somebody that's going to cause malicious damage to your property.
Yeah, and in saying that, we also don't ask for anything too intrusive from the guest. Our screening is very straightforward. We're not asking for a social security number. We're not asking for the last 4 digits of their credit card or anything like that. So that they're giving out some basic information that they would be required to for any other platform, really.
And it's the same as checking into a hotel. They normally ask you, for an ID and all that stuff. So, we just want to make sure that they are who they say they are. And again, the reason why we do the, selfie in front of the camera and all that stuff is because that eliminates of me saying, yep, I could take my wife's ID and upload it. And then if something ever goes wrong, I could say, nope, that wasn't me. Well, we have a process where we have checks and balances to make sure that, yes, it was you, and all that stuff. So, okay. There's a new question. Let's see.
So my property is managed by a third party that adds their platform, etc. Obviously, I have no contact with the guest. Can I use Superhog on my own? That's a question I haven't been asked before. Tony, have you? It's a great question.
Never have. My property is managed by, so Yeah, so if you have a third party, then they would be taking care of all of your bookings and all that stuff, right? So yeah, like you would have to talk to you'd be doubling up on it, but yeah, I haven't had that question before. So
We have property managers who manage multiple homes from multiple homeowners. And what usually would happen is if they're interested in using Superhog as their risk management toolkit, they will address their hosts individually and make sure, hey, are you happy for me to sign up to this program to, help protect your home? So I would think that you should be able to do the same thing back and, contact your property manager and say, hey, I'd actually really like to implement this. Is that something that we can do?
Mhm.
Yeah, have a chat.
I think, whoops, my slides are going backwards. I think we have all the questions answered, right? Anything
Awesome.
else?
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah.
I think we're good. Mitch, Marcos, anything on your end? You guys are good? I know.
Perfect here, Ale.
Okay, awesome. Mitch,
Did we put
you're
Mitch
good?
to sleep? Did we put Mitch to sleep?
No, not at all. I'm here.
He's hiding.
That was
in the back.
awesome, you guys.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions, call or email Kat and I. Our details are on there. We are more than happy to help you guys out. We provide a live webinar or webinar as far as showing the guest experience. So we'd be more than happy to help you guys out. Love it.
Okay. Thank you. That was so awesome, you guys. So many
Thank
great
you.
takeaways. I appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much for being here, Kat and Tony.
It was fun. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Hostfully. You guys are awesome.
Oh,
Love you.
and so are you guys, of course. Thanks, Mitch and Marcos, hiding in the background there and helping us out with the chat. For those who are listening, we will send out an email after this webinar with a link to the recording in case you need a refresher. Kat and Tony's information will be in there too if you need to get in touch with them. Again, thank you all so much for joining and enjoy the rest of your day, okay? Bye, everyone.
Bye.